So, I've been thinking a lot about the best and easiest way to rig this little guy, and I'd like to try something new using a feature that Maya just added in the 2020 release. To leverage it, we may have to write a second script, but I do think that it's going to make the creation of the actual rig a lot easier. So in order to explain this new feature and the script that we're going to write, the first thing that I want to do is introduce you to the problem we're trying to solve. And for that, I'm going to turn off the skeleton and the character that we've got and make some demo joints. We'll just make a little spiral shape. Probably won't use all of those, but that's okay. And I'm going to make a box curve. So the inherent problem is this. Each of these joints has a spatial location that contains relative location data. So the location only changes relative to the joint ahead of it in the chain. They also contain rotation information that is not world space rotation. It's not housed in the channel box. So if I want this cube to be at the identical location and rotation of each of these joints, it's a multi-step process. So I can take the cube, I can V-snap it over here, and then I can select my joint. I will press Ctrl A to open the attribute editor. And down, 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 in the joint orient, I can see that I am rotating 46.649 degrees around the y-axis. So I will Control or Command C to copy, go over to the box curve, and Control V to paste. So that gives me the perfect rotation, and now my curve is aligned properly to the joint, which is fantastic. There's only one problem with this, but it's a big problem, and that is very simply that, as you have seen, animation is really hard, and at some point it is extremely helpful to animators to be able to take all of these numbers here and zero them out to reset the rig. Nobody is ever going to remember to reset this cube to 46.694 degrees around the y-axis. That's just not going to happen. So naturally, you're probably all thinking that I can run modify freeze transformations, and that's going to zero out all of these numbers. Unfortunately, it also resets the pivot point so that the pivot point is now once again square to the grid, so I really can't use modify freeze transformations. So the feature that they added in Maya 2020 is over here in the attribute editor, and this does exist for all objects, but sometimes it's harder to find. The feature is a thing called an offset parent matrix. So if I look up here in my transform attributes, you can see that this is all zeroed out. The offset parent matrix will allow me to put in world space numbers down here in order to move this cube without making any changes up here. So it's a second set of transforms that have been added to every object inside of Maya that make aligning control objects a lot easier. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to delete this cube, and I'm going to show you very, very quickly how this works. So let me go ahead and make a new box curve. And we haven't really talked about the node editor, and I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I'll just say it's got a bunch of buttons that are alternately helpful and not helpful. I'm going to clear with this one, and then I'm going to add my box and the first joint by selecting them and then just hitting this little plus button. What I want to align is the joint and the curve, so I will take these two nodes. I will take the joint's output, click on this white dot, and go to its world matrix. The world matrix will contain all of its placement and rotation information, so we'll pull that there. And it's going to go to the input, or this white circle here on the box curve. I'll say Other, and then from this big list I will select the offset parent matrix. By the way, just so you're aware, if I delete that and do this whole thing again, over to here, Other, if you don't see this whole list, go in to Display and check Show Non-Keyable. That'll get you the whole list. So by making this connection, you see that now my cube is perfectly aligned to that joint, and you can see, because I've got it selected, that its world space coordinates are completely clean. All of this data is being stored over here in the offset matrix, which is fantastic. Now, right now, if I leave this as is, the joint is controlling the curve, and eventually I want that relationship to be the other way around. So I am going to go ahead and delete this connection. That does leave the cube in place, which is lovely. And now I am ready to turn this box curve into an actual control. So I'm going to pause this video here just to give you a moment to digest all of that. I know it was a lot. And in the next video, I'm going to start the process of writing that script. That's going to take a couple of videos, so bear with it, and I hope that it goes really well, because this is the first time we're doing it.